So I'm gonna do something a little different with my content today. Um, I was watching an episode of Divorce Court, and while watching the episode, there were two words that kept coming to my mind, and that was self-worth and accountability. And I'm sitting here yelling at the TV screen, thinking to myself, what is wrong with these people? And it dawned on me that this is a very common thing when we see our relationships with other people, be it romantic, friends, or family, is self worth and accountability. Accountability is important when boosting our self esteem and knowing our worth. We try not to make mistakes. Many of us learn as young children that doing wrong means consequences and punishment. So, to escape the bad consequences and punishment that come from being blamed, we've learned to deny the mistakes that we make. We never cease making mistakes because we're human. We just learn how to avoid them because they're a normal part of life. So, what happens when we stop denying our faults and instead concentrate on using accountability as a means of boosting our own self esteem? And this couple seems like they would rather lie to themselves and redirect the blame that they find in their relationships than to just accept their fault and make better choices. I feel like both the man and the woman in this case are at fault for the horrible relationship that they've cultivated with one another. And it's not about what they're doing to each other, it's more about what they're doing to themselves. They both need to learn to love themselves more and understand their own worth so that they don't allow themselves to stay in this trauma bonding situation. But I'll go ahead and start the video and we can just talk about it step by step.
Your Honor, this is the case of Trump versus Hardiman. Thank you very much. Ms. Rumpf, Mr. Hardiman. Ms. Rumpf, you are here in court today because you say Mr. Hardiman is a raging alcoholic and you are no longer willing to stand by and watch his addiction take over his life and yours. Yes, Your Honor. And Mr. Hardiman, you say Ms. Rumpf is exaggerating in calling you an alcoholic. You say the only reason you, quote, drink a pint of tequila a day, end quote, is to help you cope with the issues in your relationship. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, now a couple of things that I've noticed about them so far with the judge just explaining their relationship is the desperation from these two to be in a partnership. They are willing to, they've been together for 11 years and there's a child involved in this situation. But they are so desperate to be in a relationship that for 11 years they were willing to ignore the problems that they were causing for themselves just to be together.
That's a whole lot of liquor, sir. I'm getting ready to tell you. So I understand you all have been together since 2011. You are engaged and scheduled to be married in January of 2023. There's a schedule, but Miss Rumpf, you say, not so fast. Why are we in court today, ma'am? Your Honor, well, I'm here today because, as you know, we're scheduled to be married next year. I'm having second guesses about it due to the fact, he's a complete alcoholic. He's very irresponsible. And not even that, I have a 6-year-old daughter that he will soon be a stepfather to. And I just don't even think he was going to be able to.
Now, don't let that slide past you. They've been together for 11 years, but they never went into whether or not they had a breakup because she has a 6-year-old daughter. And that daughter is not his child, despite the fact that they've been together for 11 years. So I don't know if maybe whoever wrote the script for the show just wasn't paying attention to the math or not. But yeah, we noticed that.
Step it up and get it together. in time for us to get married. So you're saying he's not even a good boyfriend yet, and you're not ready to make him your husband and the father to your child until you see some proof otherwise. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hardiman? Yes, Your Honor. You heard what Ms. Rump said. What do you say? I feel like she's lying. Um, I'm here today because I want to save our relationship. I want to be here for her daughter. I love her and her daughter. And I just want her to stop accusing me of being an alcoholic when she's part to blame for this. Well, how?
Now, here's one of the first examples of how these two are passing blame and not taking accountability for the poor choices that they've made for their own lives. This woman has been in this relationship with this man for 11 years. It obviously wasn't going very well because she stepped out of the relationship and ended up getting pregnant with a child. And that wasn't enough for her to let the relationship go. So she put herself back into a situation that she deemed to be a bad situation. And meanwhile, he on the other side is blaming her for his poor health decisions by drinking alcohol and saying that it's her fault. No, you need to be accountable for the alcoholism that you have, sir. The two of them are already starting off passing the buck, projecting and blaming each other for actions that they've made that they could have fixed. It's not the other person's fault.
She part to blame, darling. Because she's always stressing me out, saying these high expectations for me. It's like she gotta lay back on it. It's like I'm trying the best I can, you know? I want to hear about these expectations. Why don't we go back a little bit, Miss Rum? I know y'all met back in 2011. Y'all were high school sweethearts, so clearly it started off really, really well. When did it change? So, yes, we met back in 2011 when we was in high school. He was such a sweet young man. Did he drink back then? No, he did not. It was just a complete 360 turnaround with him. And I just don't understand what happened. He says I'm the blame, but I'm just like, she knows what happened. What exactly have I done that just makes you want to go out and get drunk every night? So, Mr. Hardiman, you said, I heard you under your breath. You said she knows what happened. What happened, Mr. Hardiman? She knows what happened. Like, every day she come in the house, it's something different.
Now, I would take a minute to talk about this too. We cannot just simply assume that our partners know what we're thinking. None of us are mind readers. If you're feeling a certain way or you're not liking something that your partner's doing to you or doing in front of you, then it's your responsibility to speak up about it. She can't read his mind. So if something that she's doing is upsetting him, then it's his responsibility to go to her and be direct about what exactly it is that she's doing that makes him feel uncomfortable or unsafe, unloved, unseen, unheard. It's not her responsibility to just know what he's not liking. It doesn't matter how long you've been with someone, they will never be able to read your mind. They can only predict your behavior due to your history and your behavioral patterns. So don't assume that your partner just knows what they're doing is annoying you.
Back to back, back to back. No matter how good I do, it's always something new. And I started drinking just to ease off of that. Well, you do realize that alcohol is a way of medicating a problem without solving the problem. You do know that, right? Yes, Shauna. You started off by saying you drink in order to cover up something that's bothering you. It's either to alleviate stress or to avoid whatever is going on in the home. So that means you're using alcohol as some sort of bandage. Don't you think we need to rip the bandage off and see what's underneath? What's the actual ailment? Yeah, Sean. It's just all she do is nag, nag, nag. It's her. She's the problem. I don't have a drinking problem. I can stop anytime. Wait a minute.
he says I can stop anytime so many times throughout this video. And this is like the one phrase that we hear from people who have addiction problems and issues. It's almost become a sign of addiction. You know someone has a problem whenever they declare that I can stop anytime. And then he goes on to say, oh, well, she's always nagging. One thing that I've learned about when people nag, it's because they've already asked you the same thing numerous times just for you to just ignore everything they've said to you. So they continue to ask you and continue to ask you and continue to ask you. And instead of you seeing that they are now frustrated, you say they're nagging, which in my eyes is just a cop out for you not wanting to contribute to whatever it is in your partnership that they're asking for. It's not nagging, it's frustration and annoyance.
And that's the first thing that a drunk says is I can stop anytime. Just so you understand that. Miss Rump, why don't we get to the heart of this? What you are concerned about, Miss Rump, is that he can't be a proper father for your child. And I actually admire that you have listed that as one of your major concerns. From a course perspective, that is all that we are looking at, is making sure that we're not raising the next generation to repeat the mistakes of the previous generation. So why do you say that Mr. Hardiman is not a good example for your child?
Okay, Your Honor. For example, I was scheduled for a doctor's appointment one day.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm sitting in the doctor's office, I'm in the waiting room. I get a call from my daughter's school. They're like, "Hey, can you come pick your daughter up? She isn't feeling well." I'm like, "Okay, great." So I proceeded to call Mr. Hardiman. I'm like, "Hey, can you go get my daughter from school? I'm still running behind with this doctor's appointment." He's like, "Okay, sure, sure, that's no problem."
So you spoke to him?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
By the time I arrived back to the house, I go inside, I go check my daughter's room. She's not in there. I'm like, "Okay, where is she?" So I run downstairs. I see him. This man is on the couch, knocked out, sleep. My daughter's nowhere to be found in this house.
What time of the day was this?
It was around 4 p.m.
Meaning
School had
already been school just let out.
Yes.
Time.
Yes.
And he was passed out on the couch?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not what it looks like.
What it look like?
I was just, she did, I asked her, she told me to pick her kid up from school. I told her to remind me to pick your kid up. And she knew I was drinking the night before.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not the case.
Wait a minute. 20-second timeout.
I don't.
Nope. There's a time.
Okay. One thing that I will say, you lose a lot of trust in your relationships with people when you volunteer yourself for things that you know for a fact that you you're not going to do, or you volunteer for things that you know you don't want to do. And when you fail, those who depend on you, they begin to lose trust in you. Now, after she spoke about this incident with her daughter, she goes on to speak about an incident where he showed up to a function at the daughter's school event dressed in torn clothes and tight clothes. He was late. And of course, he's got all the excuses for why he showed up the way that he did. Of course, not taking any of the blame for showing up this way, but putting it on her, saying, "Oh, well, if I wouldn't have came, she would have got mad and I came like this." Basically not taking any accountability. And then I would say on her part, she knew that he has a pattern of behavior where he doesn't show up. And when he does show up, he shows up very poorly. So why she had such high expectations for him to actually do the right thing this time is beyond me. So she pretty much set herself up to be let down. And he did what he always does, which was let her down. She also speaks about an incident where he went to her family's church so that he could meet her family for the first time, and he was drunk while he was there and ended up vomiting all over the altar. And again, I have to ask, how desperate do you have to be to continue to stay in such a horrible situation? Her daughter's school had the principal and assistant principal show up at her house when he never went to pick her daughter up. She had a CPS case pulled on her. That right there alone should have been enough for her to walk away from this relationship where they are both contributing very negative very negatively towards each other. That should have been enough. But her desperation to be in a relationship made her not leave the relationship or put her child first. She doesn't know her worth. He continues to make excuses and losing trust in her and the little girl and the rest of his family, her family, their friends, because he's not dependable. He's not holding himself accountable. He won't admit to anything that he's doing wrong. He won't take ownership of his mistakes so that he knows what to do better the next time. He just wants to continue to project because neither one of them understand their own self-worth.
The school called you, told you your baby was sick. You called your partner and said the baby's sick, go pick her up at the school. He said okay?
Yes, he answered the phone. He was sounding very clear. He didn't sound like he was, wasted or anything.
But he said okay.
He agreed. Yes, ma'am.
What time did you call?
I had to call him. Get this, 11 a.m.
Oh, tag you're it. What in the world were you doing?
I don't see how I'm to blame for this when I told her to remind me. I would have picked her. It's not like I intentionally did it on purpose.
But wait, she called.
Again, I'll reiterate why she decided to ask him to do something so important is beyond me. She already knows his pattern of behavior and how much he lets her down by not following through with things he says he's going to do. And then again, why is he volunteering himself to do something so important when he knows that he's not going to do it? This little girl was sick at school. She needed to be picked up immediately. And instead of him just going out and picking the little girl up, he's sitting around waiting for a phone call. No. And why she thought it was okay to depend on him to actually go do this for her, I just don't get either one of them. They're both downplaying the bad choices that they both made in the situation.
At 11. The baby was sick at 11. What you need to be reminded for is called get up, brush your teeth, and go drive to get the baby. I mean, I need to remind you 3 minutes later because I didn't want you to wait to go get her. So my question is, when she called you, you agreed. Why didn't you just leave and go get the child?
Well, Yonda, I was still feeling tired from drinking. I was sleepy.
Your Honor, that's not even the half of it.
There's more?
Yes, ma'am, there is more. So, after I, confront him, like, hey, where is she? Wake up. I get a ring at the doorbell. Keep this. It's the principal and the assistant principal with my child.
I'm principal and the assistant principal?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see why you couldn't just go to leave the doctor's office and pick her up yourself.
I called you and you answered.
You could have picked her up yourself.
I called you and you answered and you
I fell asleep. Whatever. People fall asleep.
That's not
I'm human. I make mistakes.
Your Honor, there's more to it.
Go ahead.
Okay, Your Honor. A little later in the evening, CPS came to the door.
Of course CPS
came. Well check.
Yes, I've been waiting for that part.
Of
course
they was at the door. They came inside to do a little well check after that whole fiasco.
Mr. Hardiman, you do understand that this was a snowball that ran down that hill. Mr. Hartman, let's take it back to why were you drinking in the car on the way to 7 a.m. church service, sir?
I had liquor left over from last night, and I spent good money.
And you didn't think maybe I'm on my way to church. I'm going to meet my fiance's grandmother. I might want to pour this out.
Girl, that never crossed my mind. I was just thinking about like times is hard and money is important. You don't want nothing to go to waste. So I was like, I always chug it up. I didn't think I was going to throw up, you know? I didn't realize it was that human out there.
Well, but you know what? At about 6:45 in the morning, because if you're going to 7 o'clock service, it's sometime between 6:45 and 7:15. That probably would make you vomit to have alcohol from the night before on top of alcohol from the night before. That's called using good judgment, Mr. Hardiman.
Yeah, you're right.
Again, we're getting back to that Band-Aid. Remember what I said? Anything that you have to do is a bandage for something that is sore underneath. What's underneath? Because this is bad.
I can stop when I want to. I'm down to a pint of tequila a day. I can stop when I want to. So,
Mr. Hardiman, did you hear what you just said? Pint. Your quote.
Now, I cut out some scenes from the episodes, but this is probably about the fifth time that he says, I can stop whenever I want. This was about maybe 45 minutes long. It's two parts to the episode. And he's said I can stop whenever I want probably about 5 times already, and we still have almost 13 minutes left uh, of the video.
Down to a pint, which means you used to drink more than that, right?
Yes, Shauna. It's about 8 to 10 shots.
That's 8 2-ounce shots, Mr. Hardiman. There are cases of young people, men and women, that go to the frat house or the sorority house and as an initiation drink 8 shots and they die. And you said you're down to that a day?
Yes, Shauna.
Sir, that's alcoholism.
I drink a lot of water.
Oh, man.
Dehydrate.
Lord, keep me near the cross. Okay. Mr. Hardiman, alcoholism is so not a joke. And you are a young person. You're killing yourself. You're killing your liver. You're killing your heart. You're killing the organs inside of you. And you've killed a relationship. Mr. Hardiman, alcoholism is so not a joke. And you are a young person. You're killing yourself. You're killing your liver. You're killing your heart. You're killing the organs inside of you. And you've killed a relationship because you're drinking too much. And you're not even admitting that you're drinking too much. You got to admit that you're drinking too much. You've got an issue. Until you admit that you have an issue, sir, it's going to remain there. And I'm not even talking about saving your relationship. I'm talking about saving your life. You can kill yourself. You really and truly are. There's no human being's body that can sustain a pint of pure alcohol a day. So what's going on in your life that you feel like you need to drink that much?
I can stop anytime whenever I want. It's just
That's about the 9th time he said it. But let's go on.
How much have you drank today?
I ain't drank nothing today.
You sure?
Yeah, I ain't drank nothing today. It's been a while since I drank something.
Did you have something to drink yesterday?
Yeah.
That's not a while.
But it's just one shot though, you know. Nothing harmful.
But you said to me it's been a while since I drank something.
Yeah.
And I asked you one question, did you drink yesterday? That's not a while. That's within 24 hours. A while is last month. Even last week I'd give you. But you had a drink yesterday. And something tells me after this courtroom session, you can't wait to run to a bar and get a drink today.
Well, depending how that goes.
Well, how you think it's going?
I think it's gonna go well. That's why I'm here today for
Your Honor,
fight for the relationship.
that's enough of his.
Go ahead, Miss Burke. I'm listening to you.
Okay, so yeah, he definitely can't get it together. But so my mother, she had a little wedding anniversary picnic at her house. We was invited out. As soon as we get there, this man went straight to the cooler
Whoa, it's a picnic.
Straight to the
It was a
cooler
picnic.
to go get him some bottles.
Everyone was drinking. It was a picnic.
Next thing I know, he just over there shots after shots. I'm looking like, hey, you might need to calm down. My family out here. There's
This
church
before
out.
or after the church situation?
This is after. He didn't learn his lesson.
Now, I like that she said that. Oh, this was after the other incidents. He didn't learn his lesson. But she fails to realize that she too didn't learn her lesson, because there was definitely a lesson in this for her to learn, and that was for her to learn her own self-worth, take accountability for her poor choice to stay in this relationship that was not positively serving her or her child. But she didn't. That was her lesson to learn, and she, just like him, failed to learn that lesson.
This is gonna point me out of everybody. Everybody in there was drinking, y'all.
Everybody was drinking. Okay, I got you.
It's a picnic. Everyone's living.
Okay, everybody.
Now, what I will say about him is that he will definitely follow the crowd, but his problem is he doesn't know when to stop. He doesn't know the limit. We all know the old saying, if your friends jump off a bridge, are you going to follow them off of it too? But here's the thing, this man has an addiction and he won't acknowledge it, but that doesn't mean the addiction doesn't exist. He's following the crowd to his own demise. Just because everyone else is doing something like drinking alcohol doesn't mean that it's okay for you to do it too, because you have a problem with alcohol. You don't know when to stop. And that's another lesson that he needs to learn, but he's not going to learn it because he won't even admit that he has a problem with drinking alcohol.
Drinking, keep going.
Yeah, I was drinking. But he decided to get wasted. And I have videos of him at that picnic that day. He vomited all over the place, passed out in the yard. The dog don't walked up to him and started licking on his face. He still, he gets up. My mom had came over there. She's like, you need to get up. You need to pull it together because you out here ruining my day.
She was being rude.
He started mouthing off. Like, who are you talking to like that? First of all, that's my mother. Watch your mouth. Watch your
My
mouth.
mother came off disrespectful to me, yelling at me for no reason. My mother didn't have to come at me like that. That was
Mr.
so
Herman?
unnecessary.
Mr. Herman, were you drunk and had vomited at the mother's event?
Everyone was
Yes,
drinking.
Your Honor, and I have that video in here too.
I know that my court clerk gave me the video.
Um, One thing that he says was, oh, well, she was being disrespectful to me, but you were being disrespectful to yourself. You were disrespectful to her home. You were disrespectful to the other guests that were in your presence. You were disrespectful to your fiance. You were being disrespectful to your fiance's child and whatever other children were in the vicinity while you were at this barbecue, thinking that you could follow the crowd by drinking and then getting so drunk that you begin to vomit all over the place. So, respect is a two-way street. You can't demand someone to give you respect when you, number one, are not respecting them in their space, and you're also not respecting yourself.
But they won't permit me to put it up on the courtroom monitor.
Yeah, I figured because he outdid himself that
Everyone
day.
was drinking.
He outdid
Y'all
himself.
was listening to music, dancing. I got some drinks. I was dancing, getting groovy, and I just, my stomach was shaking up, and I threw up.
I just literally watched a grown man regurgitating multiple times,
Your Honor,
with a cup continuing to be in your hand. It's interesting. You ain't drop a drop of what was in that cup, though. I'm watching it, and I don't see you. You had the cup steady as a mug.
Well, yeah, I ain't want to get the cup dirty, just in case I wanted to, go get some more.
Well, Your Honor,
But I don't think it's that bad because
let's see if it's that bad because
Your Honor,
we've called a witness because I hear what Miss Rum's saying. I have now seen my own exhibit of what a disgusting sight it was, and I'm not going to let you out of it. I don't think I've ever been with somebody who has vomited multiple times in my presence because they've drank too much. But I'm going to see how Miss Thomas perceived that. I understand that you brought your mother today.
Yes,
Your
Before her mom comes out, I want you all to take notice at how much he downplayed the seriousness of how his actions were affecting the people that he claims to love. Not only did he downplay it, but he made attempts to make jokes out of it, thinking it was funny. Addiction and alcoholism is not funny. It's not a joke. It's very serious. And if your family, your loved ones, your friends, if they're coming to you telling you that your addictive behavior is harmful to not just yourself, but to the people around you, then that's something that needs to be taken seriously.
witness.
I surely did.
Robert, will you please ask the witness to join us?
Sure.
Hello, Miss Thomas. Uh-oh. Mama got the rest in you know what face, which desperately means you walk in here annoyed already, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you please tell me your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Lazabrea Thomas.
Miss Thomas, it's a pleasure to have you. Tell me what the nature of your relationship is with our litigants.
That is my lovely daughter over there.
I can tell y'all look a lot.
And that is hopefully not my future son-in-law.
Something tells me you have had enough. How do you feel about Mr. Hardiman, and is he suitable to be with your daughter?
I don't feel nothing for him. He's a nothing. Nothing.
I'm gonna be a good husband.
No, nothing. Okay? He is a disgrace. I don't want him no parts of my family.
Have you witnessed
Yeah.
inappropriate behavior?
Have I? He came to my wedding anniversary a drunken mess. Okay?
Wow.
A drunken mess.
Miss Thomas, I just watched a video of Mr. Hardiman vomiting multiple times. This happened in front of your family?
Ma'am, yes, it did. Children were there. The elders were there. It was so embarrassing. I lost it that day.
Everyone was drinking that day too, though.
Were there other people that vomited? Were there other people that vomited, Mrs.?
No, they did not. Nobody was drunk. A hot drunk mess. Nobody.
So I'm curious. How did that all go down? So he showed up. Was he already drinking?
Listen. He seemed like he already had a few before he came. Yes, ma'am. Had to, because when he got there, he was already on one, as the young people say, on one. He was already.
What, sir?
You're supposed to pre-turn it before you go to any event. You have to pre-turn it. It's coming. Everyone does.
And again, he's trying to make light of his behavior, making excuses for his behavior, making a joke of his behavior. And the people around him, instead of them trying to explain to him how serious this is, they're feeding into him downplaying it. They're laughing along with him. You see the people in the background, even though they're not a part of the situation, they're just spectators, but they're laughing along with him, which is giving him more and more encouragement to think that his behavior is okay when it's really not.
Hello, this is
Mr.
an
Hardiman.
anniversary with family and
But wait,
friends.
Mr. Hardiman, is there a booklet on how one is supposed to act around a family event?
No, Your Honor, but
So what makes you say that you're supposed to pre-turn up, sir?
you're supposed to get turned before you go to get turned, you know?
Why?
Pre-turn up.
Why?
It's just,
It is not the
that's
club.
what everyone does. I thought everyone did it, but
Miss Thomas, I'm going to turn back to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter is scheduled to be married at the top of the year.
How do you feel about that? Not over my dead body.
Wow, that's crazy.
Have you expressed that to your child? Yes, enough. I don't know how much more I can express it to her. This is serious. I do not want her to marry him.
Would you please tell her? Would you please tell her why? And I'd like Mr. Hardiman to hear from a mother's perspective why you don't think that he's a suitable husband and father for your grandchild.
You can do so much better. All right? You can. You know you can. You see all the well respectable men in our family and everybody that's married and things like that. They ain't got nothing like this. Which no hot, messy this.
That's crazy.
You can do so much better. You have a whole future ahead of you. And I tell you this all the time, you're a beautiful young lady. You deserve way better. I taught you about knowing your worth time and time again. You know, you're a queen and you have to do better.
And I'm her king.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of things about this. Number one, I didn't like that her mother came out and just began by insulting this man and addressing him. Yes, I understand that the judge in the case asked her directly to speak about him, but her daughter is her responsibility and concern. So her daughter is the one that she should have been addressing. I love that her mom was giving her encouragement and speaking life into her. But I have to question if this is a constant thing between the mother and daughter. Are you always speaking life into your daughter? Are you always encouraging her? Are you always telling her to look inside of herself so that she can learn to love herself and make better choices for herself and her daughter? Or are you just simply trashing this man instead of encouraging your daughter? Whenever you talk to your daughter about her relationship, is it consisting of you encouraging your daughter, or is it consistently you trashing the fiance? And I would have to say, if if this is what you're doing, number one, you're not helping your daughter to move past this relationship, because we all know that whenever we hate our children's partners, the more we trash their relationship for whatever reason, the closer they get with each other. And then it turns into us against the world type of situation, even if their relationship is bad. But if you are giving your daughter encouragement and telling her that she's good enough, she can do better, she's worth it, she is enough, then maybe she'll get a better sense of herself and not just the fact that you don't like the man she's with. You have to encourage your daughter, not constantly trash the man she's with, because she is your responsibility and not him.
Her king.
They don't get better.
Her king.
They don't get better.
Her king. No, sir. No, no. Uh-uh. Everybody that's married and things like that, they ain't got nothing like this. Which no hot, messy this.
That's crazy.
You can do so much better. You have a whole future ahead of you. And I tell you this all the time, you're a beautiful young lady. You deserve way better. I taught you about knowing your worth time and time again. You know, you're a queen and you have to do better.
And I'm her king.
Yeah, her king.
They don't get better.
Her king.
They don't get better.
Her king. No, sir. No, no. Uh-uh.
You actually are putting Miss Rum.
I'll stop it there because I just did a video before about what it means to be a quote unquote king, because we always hear men say, oh, I'm a king, I'm royalty, I should be treated with respect and this, that, and the third. And I just thought it was so funny that he would even make this statement considering the behavior that he's been displaying. And even for her mom to call her a queen when she is not holding herself up to that status of being a queen. She doesn't even understand her own self worth. I ran across a comment on social media of a man who says that he is a king and he will be treated like a king. But all of his behaviors say that he is not a king. A king does not beg for respect or attention. Rather, he's given that respect and attention due to his great stature and or his position. People always display admiration when a king enters the room because they know that he makes good decisions in their best interests. You can't expect to be treated like a king while making little to no effort to behave like a king. You must exhibit maturity and responsibility for those whom you assume authority over. You have to be reliable and honest. A king is required to have good judgment and discernment. You have to be able to show and prove that you will not make excuses for your bad behavior. A king is accountable for everything that happens in his kingdom, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Before you insist that someone embrace you as their leader or a king, you need to have more self respect and understand your value as a person and an individual. It is perfectly okay to acknowledge that you have faults, but a wise king knows that if he's unable to lead his kingdom in the right direction, it is perfectly okay for him to step down from the position. Seek the help that you need to better yourself. Get to know yourself, understand your weaknesses, and actively work on improvement and becoming a better version of you so that when the opportunity for you to lead comes around again, and it will, you'll be a much better person and much better prepared to take on the position of a king.
You actually are putting Miss Rump in a position of possibly losing her child. And your behavior, the drinking, the out of control behavior, is indicative of a person who has a major addiction problem. And it's on you to determine where you go else. That's it. It's all on you. I can't help you until you say, ma'am, I do have a problem and I want help for it.
Well, Your Honor, I really can stop anytime. It's like they can point out all the bad stuff I done, but they haven't pointed out all the good I done.
That's because your vomiting erases it. I can guarantee you that you could save people from a burning building. And the next day, if you show up at church and vomit all over the altar, they're not going to remember that you saved nobody from the burning building. They're going to remember that you vomited all over the altar. That's just indicative of how our behavior literally follows us all the time. Short term decisions have long term ramifications. And your short term decisions to drink and turn up and pre turn up has a long term ramification. I'm going to turn to you, Miss Rump. You've heard what your mother has said, you've heard what I've said. Now it's about you.
I'll stop it there. Now, after being confronted with so many examples of his bad behavior, he continues to protest that I don't have a problem. I can stop whenever I want to. You can't force someone into self love and healing. And most people aren't going to accept accountability of their poor behavior until everyone that they love and care about walks away from them. And even new people that they encounter avoid making lasting connections with them. You can't force someone into knowing their worth. You can't force someone into being responsible and so on and so forth. You cannot force anyone into doing anything that they don't choose to do for themselves, because then you find yourself in a situation where they become performative and they're going to do whatever you want them to do until they can't keep the charade up anymore.
Do you think you're worth more?
Your Honor, honestly, I do. I have a little girl that's looking up to me.
That's crazy.
And I don't need somebody like that around her. Because she's gonna think, okay, this is acceptable. This is the type of man I should go be with. I don't want that for her. I want better for my child.
That's crazy. But I'm there every time she needs something.
No, you're not. No, you don't get to do that. You either have to tell the truth or stand silent, because you're not there every time she needs something, because when she needed to be picked up at school because she was sick, you weren't there. Okay? And I still haven't heard apologies. I'm going to do better. This is what I'm prepared to do. I didn't hear that. Under normal circumstances, I'd be here to help a couple get over this. Remember, I said to you, there's something underneath that bandage. There's an ailment, there's an illness, there's a sore. And until you acknowledge that, it's never going to get better. Because this court is not here to make fun of you. I will not treat you like a court jester. If you're looking to get better, then you have to say you're looking to get better. I haven't heard it from you.
I just don't think I have a problem. I can stop anytime. I'm not an alcoholic
That's
at
his
all.
favorite line.
Miss
that
Rum,
you can see.
you have on your finger right now an engagement ring.
Yes.
Did he give it to you?
Yes, he did.
Fanciful.
Miss Rum, this is on you right now. Mr. Hardiman is who he is, and he is not changing. And if you want a sloppy, immature drunk as your husband and the father of your child, here you go.
Now, I will say that while the judge was correct in her summation of the young man in the video, I will also say that she should have said more about the young lady in the video, because this young woman allowed herself to be used in this way. She put herself into this position not once, not twice, not even three times, but multiple times. She allowed herself and her child to be put in these negative situations. And that's something that she really has to take accountability for, whether you like it or not. You had the opportunity to leave when you obviously left him before to go make this child, and you decided to come back. So this woman needs to, number one, she needs to learn how to love herself. Number two, she needs to understand that she is enough. She needs healing. She needs to know her worth. She needs to build her self esteem. She needs to get in tune with her higher self so that she will start letting her gut instinct and her intuition to guide her into making better decisions. We can't put all the blame onto this man just because his behavior is so negative due to his drinking. Because here you are watching him behave this way, knowing he has a problem, and you're not helping yourself to get away from this situation. You are staying there. And while I find it good that she made the decision on TV to walk away from this relationship, if she doesn't get the mental help and therapy that she needs to build herself up, she's going to end up back in this relationship. She may not be with this particular man, but she's going to be with a man just like him, manipulative, uh, embarrassing, liar, deceitful, cheater, so on and so forth. She's going to continuously put herself in these relationships that serve her nothing but negative aspects in her life. because she needs therapy and she needs self healing. And this man obviously needs to go into some type of rehab facility, and he needs to learn how to start taking accountability for his own poor choices and stop trying to downplay the harm he's causing to himself and others.
Girl, that's all I've been trying to get you to do is to understand. I'm glad it finally went in.
Robert, I have to tell you, boy, it breaks my heart when I see young people break up. But this is a couple that absolutely needed to break up.
Yeah, if you don't want to put the work in, if you don't want to get help, this doesn't mean anything.
And it doesn't mean anything. I mean, I hate to see someone who has put that much time and effort into a relationship in. But if this man is not willing to take help that is offered to him,
Right.
and even acknowledge that there's a problem,
Right.
she's much better off without him. I'm glad she had the strength to walk away.